been given access to receive messages of clarity, guidance, and love. As channeler, psychotherapist, and author, Noemi Grace has an intimate dialogue with the divine on your behalf. Lisa Berry, creator of the show Light on Living, will be co-hosting as live callers ask their burning question on self-love, self-healing, deepening relationships, areas of struggle, and next steps. By simply listening in, you're receiving wisdom that will lead to sacred stability from every channeled message that Noemi delivers. Join us now as we give you access to angels and grace. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Access to Angels and Grace. You're listening to Noemi's and my series, Living Beyond the Wounds. And I think we've taken a few steps. I really do.
Yes. And so first, Lisa, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and all our Canadian listeners. And for those in the U.S., I prefer Indigenous Peoples Day. And so that's how I look at this day, even though I don't have the day off. But to honor the Indigenous peoples and to honor being grateful, to honor thankfulness.
Thank you for acknowledging that. That's beautiful. And I had Thanksgiving tea with my dad, my sister, and her her close family, my family, but everybody in her family and her household. And it was really it was a lot of appreciation and sharing memories and we love this about this, and did you notice that? And it was just the whole house, I think, kind of was buzzing with love and appreciation and gratitude when I left there.
How beautiful. It's a day that's, for you now and for us in the U.S. in November to really appreciate. And I think that's the most important part, especially this year. Some people won't have their huge celebrations. It'll be smaller. And so be grateful in that gratitude.
Tuning to a different way it looks. And actually it's interesting that we can tie this in beautifully. It's about being thankful for literally everything and can we find the opportunity in it? Can we find the goodness in everything, including our wounds?
That's a beautiful way of saying it. Can we find the goodness? And for me, it's can we find the gift?
Oh, yes.
Yes. I had lost one time a sapphire ring that my mother gave me, and I lost it. And I was devastated, and I didn't want to tell her, but, because I had lost another one, she had given me four rings, and each one had a bad ending. But so this was ring number 3, and I didn't want to say anything. I have now ring number 4, but I didn't want to say anything, and so I just kind of let it be for a while. And I used to have a waterbed back then, and in the bottom. And then it sprung a leak, and I was like, "Oh, why is this happening? This is so." And if anyone who's had a waterbed, those are such a pain when they leak. Turn the thing, and I had the egg crates in it. Turn the mattress over, and I found it. The middle of the bed was the ring underneath the mattress.
My gosh.
So somehow it caused some of the little diamonds on it caused the mattress to leak. They slipped in. And because I used to take it off before bed, and then after that I didn't take it off again. So
you know what? The wound was in the bladder of your bed, and the gift was the ring. The ring said, "Here I go. I'm going to create this."
And
wound,
so what I realized, was that the challenge, that every challenge has a gift. That struck me so much because it was a multi-hour challenge to get this bed fixed. But every challenge has a gift in it. And so every wound has a gift too. That was, I think I read that last time or the time before, that there is a gift in every wound, that every wound comes bearing a gift. And that's seek the gift. Because when we find the gift, we can heal. That gift is there to help us heal.
Yeah, and we're not saying it's easy to be right in the middle of the, I can't find my ring, I've lost it, how am I not going to tell my mom, how am I going to tell my mom? It's literally, we're not saying that's easy, but what we're saying is that if you have that knowing with you at all times and you hold that belief in your heart that there is a gift, you're kind of prepared. You're prepared so when this wound shows up, you can go, well, hold on, let me take a step back. And I think it's going to start by the very saying that you and I you found, which is a really fun way, by the way. I'm going to share with everybody the story, but if we can be prepared with this statement and really believe it, is that it's okay to not be okay. And I'm so excited to ask you some questions about this, Noemi, but I have to share with everybody, we already had the show description. We knew we were going to walk in this direction along, living beyond the wounds, and that it's okay to not be okay. And you show up sending me I like pop music. It's fun. It's dancey and everything else. And you show up sending me this awesome, fun song, literally with "It's okay to not be okay." And I thought, well, I just love you. And it's fun.
Well, thank you.
And I love that that's the kind of music that we are even, that's out there right now. And they're saying it's okay to not be okay. And my question is, if we were going to be prepared with that statement and we really fell in love with it, we owned it. We owned it's okay to not be okay. My question that I really was dying to ask you is, is there a false fear around not being okay? Why are we so afraid to not be okay in the first place?
Oh, that is such a great question. I can answer my piece of it. I can certainly get that from the divine as well, because there is depth here. So as with the psychotherapy hat on, we've been socialized, we've been programmed to recognize our own imperfection, most of us, So we've been programmed to, and it's been pointed out. It's been pointed out. Yeah, that was not perfect, or you didn't stick the landing, basically. It's been pointed out to us over and over and over again. And so we internalize that we're not okay. And Don Miguel Ruiz, in his book, The Four Agreements, talks about this process of domestication, how we're socialized. And through that, we learn we're not okay. And we seek then to try to make ourselves more okay, because we learn that we're not okay as we are, and we seek to try to find a way to at least appear to ourselves, or at least to others, if we can't appear to ourselves, that we're more okay than we think we are.
Then we are. So we're not dismissing, we are ignoring the wound.
A lot of times, right? The wound, I think we try to ignore the wound, but sometimes the wound just keeps getting rewounded. And,
yes.
I had that recent eye wound and I wounded it. And then 2 weeks later, I put lotion in my eye. I'm like, I never put lotion in my eye. I'm putting lotion on my face. I realized out of that I'm not very gentle on my face. So I've been loving my face every day when I put the lotion or when I wash it. And it's like, so grateful for this face. And so, we try to ignore it, and then if we can't ignore it, then we get triggered, and then we act out of the wound, unless we can step out of that wound and say, oh, this is what's happening. I'm wounded. The wound is triggered. Okay. It's okay.
I love that you said the wound is okay. So here's the neat thing about that. So it's okay to not be okay is that step to have, like what you're saying to there, it's okay to be okay, and then we're not acting from a wounded place from the wound. We're acting from an authentic place from the wound. There's the difference. Ha.
Yes, the authenticity. Well, as soon as we make it not okay wherever we are, we're rejecting it. We're resisting it, and trying to push it off our plate. Like, no. And so in that, there's no healing. In that there's just a lot of resistance, and that creates friction, that slows us down, and there's so much judgment in that. If we're not okay with ourselves right now, whatever's going on, we are judging ourselves and we're pushing, it's like we're trying to push ourselves away from ourselves.
Yeah. Well, you said the word friction. I actually felt that, like, oh, you just rubbed my wound. Like, oh, you know, I felt like, ouch.
And you had that big wound, you know, I think earlier. Oh, might have been before
November.
last year,
yeah.
but
it was November. Yeah. Yeah, and the interesting thing is that well, let's take that wound. That's an interesting thing because I knew exactly where the wound was. I could see it, and I was protecting it. However, that wound ran deep, and it affected like a nerve to my elbow. And that's so interesting when we think about our own internal emotional, who we are, wounds. And we may think, yeah, well, it wasn't the same thing, but it was something different, because you hit something really big there when you said that things. I was just talking about this with my family yesterday about how we are not only conditioned to know when we're not okay, but others point it out. And I really that actually hurts me a lot. I'm very sensitive to that one also, because I'm thinking, and I think there's when it evokes love, because I often think I don't want to point something out about somebody that perhaps I don't think's okay, or whatever the word is, and I don't, because I know it's not going to evoke love. It's not going to make them feel good, and it's certainly not going to make me feel good. And so that, I think you really said that. I wonder if we all just for a moment stop pointing it out from ourselves. Oh, there's that wound. Oh, there's that imperfection. Oh, there's where you're not okay. Oh, there's where you're the victim or her, you know, and that, because that is friction and not healing.
That's beautiful. And you had received that phrase when it evokes love, and then you just used it. And that was your channeled message this morning, and it evokes love. And I thought that was beautiful. Choose what evokes love, you know. And the reading, actually,
Yes.
Yes, I think it. Yes, it does talk about choosing from love. Does it? Yes. It talks
I think
about
that's a
choosing
perfect
love.
time mix. And we'd like to share with everybody, as you tune into every episode here on Access to Angels and Grace, Noemi not only is going to, like, as I kind of feel those questions, or Noemi feels those questions from you guys as you're listening, as we're sharing, and she will channel the divine and share the messages that are coming through. But also, Noemi is so beautiful and kind and helpful to us that you a channel or taken from your book, which is channeled, and then share that message, and it always pertains exactly, and it shows up just exactly in the moment for healing and to support us.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. And I have to say that since we agreed to do this series, my wounds are showing up more. You know? So I have material from my own life to request a channeled message, to request some answers. And so this is called the compassionate path out of the wound. The compassionate path out of the wound, and it was an answer I received when I was really kind of disappointed in myself, because I actually knew that the wound was getting triggered, and I had been practicing to actually step out of it and to say something. And this time, the whole thing went off the rails, and I felt like a train wreck. So I asked for some help, and the answer is always lovely. And in this series, they seem to be giving us practical tools, too, as well, that we can use in the answer. So, shall I read?
Yes, I do. I think we have just enough time. And then what we'll do is, everybody listening, enjoy this message from Noemi, and then we'll go straight to commercial, and then we can talk about it when we come back.
Okay, that sounds good. And this is from my upcoming book, A Divine Message for These Times. We watch you daily struggling and suffering, and we are always here for you. We notice that sometimes you are triggered, yet you can step out of the wound. At other times, you do not realize that your wound is triggered. At other times you do realize that your wound is triggered, but you feel powerless to stop yourself and to make a conscious choice. Awareness is a key. It enables you to watch what is happening from the neutral part of you called the observer or witness. Through awareness, you can see that you're triggered, and you perceive that you have a choice. You can either step out of the wound or stay there. With partial awareness, You may recognize a familiar dynamic is taking place and that familiar feeling of being triggered, yet you feel powerless to stop and make a different choice, and you embrace that loss of power. Yet even in your perception of powerlessness, you can choose to embrace your power in several ways. You can ask us to help you access your power, and we will. Or you can use the force of your will to push yourself into a more powerful stance. You can even align with the strength of your heart to have compassion for yourself in the moment. Compassion is another key. When you have compassion for yourself, for the person or event that triggered the wound, and even for the wound itself, you can step out of the emotion of woundedness and step into the feeling of love and acceptance. In compassion, it's easy to make a different choice, one that empowers you in the moment. In compassion, you do not fight or resist anything, and you move effortlessly into a new position, a new stance. If you cannot reach compassion, then reach for us. We are always here to help you. We encourage you to use an affirmation or mantra to shift yourself. Practice saying to yourself, I am powerful enough to choose love now. I am powerful enough to choose love now. This mantra combines the force of your will, I am powerful enough, with compassion to choose love now. It also aligns your heart and your reasoning. It marries the heart and mind. The simple mantra can create a powerful impact on your life if repeated regularly. It can subtly yet powerfully shift your awareness and experience. Awareness combined with compassion empowers you to make a different choice, to choose to shift out of the wound to that still, silent place within you, which remains untouched by the wound. You all have an unwounded, pure place within you where the essence of you resides. That is also the birthplace of compassion within you. There you can make a compassionate choice. Choose kindness, and you shift out of the wound. In the moment that compassion chooses, it frees you from the wound and frees you from judging yourself and whomever or whatever triggered the wound. This simple mantra will help you. It enables you to add compassion to awareness and joins the strength of your will with the power of your heart. This empowers you to take compassionate action that is aligned with the truth of who you are. Here, peace, love, and joy are all birthed and accessed through the wound.
We'll scooch off to commercial, and then we have a lot to talk about that one. That was beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The universe is eager to help you and give you clarity. You only need to be willing to ask your burning question and listen to the answer Source wants you to have. As a channeler of divine messages, I take your questions directly to the divine and hear what Source is longing to tell you. I'm Noemi Grace, and my co-host Lisa Berry and I welcome you to join us as a listener or caller on Access to Angels and Grace, 2 Wednesdays a month. Call in, ask your most burning questions, hear the divine's exact words giving you guidance and clarity. Access to Angels and Grace, where messages of joy await you.
Hi, this is David Strickle. I'm excited to share my brand new show, The Stream of David Live, right here on OMTimes Radio. Each week, I'll have exciting guests, and I'll channel the eternal wisdom of the stream, a group of non-physical entities whose teachings have transformed lives all over the world. So join us for an uplifting hour each Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's the Stream of David Live right here on OMTimes Radio.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Access to Angels and Grace. We're here with Noemi Grace and myself, Lisa Berry. And just before that, we were able to hear beautiful words and practical. I like that you said that, Noemi. Practical ways, which we're going to break down and talk about, that the divine, you've channeled from the divine, and this was in your upcoming book. So not yet. It's on its way. We're still writing. And some others, 4 specific things that I really touched on, but I'm wondering if I want to go into the big one, but I'm going to come to the one. You said something really interesting, Noemi. The birthplace of compassion. And that, because my birthday's coming up. No, but I was.
Oh, yes, it is.
But the birthplace of compassion, that, of course, that made me think, well, where is the birthplace of compassion, and how do we? Yeah, can you just speak more to that, or is that something that we may ask? Maybe we want to channel that. I'm not sure.
We can ask that. I had never heard that phrase before, but to me it means, in my first book, An Intimate Dialogue with God, and the subtitle, The Miraculous Power of Unconditional Self-Love. It's about self-love, and they talked a lot about that at our core, in our essence, we are uniquely love. We're unique, but we are all love. And to me, that in our essence, at that kernel of the truth of who we are, that's where compassion is born. It doesn't come out, I think that's what they're saying. It doesn't come out of our minds or the wounded heart. It comes out of the essence of who we are, which is born in divine love. There's that seed of divine love inside all of us. So. And one thing they did tell me is that compassion is love and connection. So therefore, at the seed of our love, of who we are, our unique love, comes compassion, which is love and connection. So that's what I know.
I love the essence of who we are. I always remember, you said kernel, which is funny because I've been eating popcorn lately. Air popped popcorn, by the way. But the kernel form is I always remember learning with where the word epiphany came from, which is E-P-I-P-H, so pip, the word pip, which is like a seed. And this is our, an epiphany is like where the seed of this feeling is. And I love that whole thing is around there is the essence of who we are. It's not from our mind. You very specifically, I love that you shared that. This is not something, compassion is not something we logically we're mindful, but put our brain to it and say, how can I create compassion? It is it's an essence. It's where you feel, and I love that you also shared that it's strength of the will and power of the heart.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I liked how they said that, because you can be strong-willed. I know there were times in my life when I was called that. And so you can be strong-willed, which is not necessarily the strength of the will. And then the power of the heart. Oh, the heart is so powerful. When we come from love, it is so powerful.
That is, and earlier when the word power, because power sometimes, it's used a lot, like I have the power, or I'm going to overpower you, and then we've moved into a place of gently and beautifully saying I feel empowered, and I just was my flowing feeling was around authentic and power, and not just the difference, but yeah, I guess it is. There's my question. Is there a difference between authenticity and empowerment?
Wow, what a question!
Sorry.
I have never considered that before. I don't know where you get your questions. They're usually quite amazing. So I'm going to write that down.
I have to write that one down too. Or what is the, yeah, because there has to be, what is the difference between because authenticity truly is a type, I don't know, maybe it's a type of power, but yes, we'll see what the divine has to share about that, because authenticity, we're talking about coming from the wound authentically. And is that, do we come from the wound powerfully? Yes, I'm gonna not even unwrap that one. That's the question.
Well, and yes, authenticity, if we are wounded, and so to be authentic is to acknowledge that. It's not to resist it or pretend we're not, ignore it or avoid it. It's to acknowledge that and then move from there. I remember recently a friend said to another friend and I, she said, "I'm wounded," and that was before we were talking about the show. And she just put that out there, and I thought, wow, I felt such deep connection to her when she acknowledged, when she was willing to be that vulnerable to say that she's a wounded person, and that struck me, and that was.
I have goosebumps
before we envisioned this. Yeah.
That is so, I hear that. My heart hears it differently than I'm sick. I have, and I'm going to be very bold here. I have cancer. I have a disease. I'm wounded feels so much more like I can help, like I can be there. Yes, connection, like what you said, connectivity, that compassion, meaning connection and love. I'm wounded allows me to help, to assist, to be there for support. That was really powerful.
And it creates that experience of hold on, I'm trying to find the word. Oh yes, mutuality, because I know I'm wounded, and if someone else says to me they're wounded and they are willing to be that vulnerable, I can also be vulnerable and acknowledge my unwoundedness, and with no shame or blame or anything. It's what it is. So how about we go with authenticity and power.
Empowerment and power.
So like, how do we come from authenticity and step into our power? And then they can tell us.
Yes, we'll love
the difference. Because the two of them, to me, are really great together. So I'd rather not split the hair. I'd rather braid the hair. And, oh, wow.
All right.
I never said that one before.
I love that. It's not split hairs, let's braid them.
Okay. I heard that from them. They're already chomping at the bit. Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. So if this is your first time listening, I get a little silent now to deepen that connection with the divine. I've learned to listen, and they're always talking. I don't always hear it, but I also can feel the vibration building up, which it is. So I'm getting silent, and then I'll greet the divine and turn it over to them, and they will answer about authenticity and power in the context of being of the wound. Hello, divine. I can feel your vibration. I can feel you're ready, and we are ready to listen. Please share with us here as we are learning to live beyond wounds about authenticity, power, and how it relates and how we can step into that and not live from the wound. We love this question. It is a deep question. You and Lisa were talking earlier about asking better questions, and that we had channeled to you in your first book. And yes, this is a better question. We love this question because The wound is where you get stuck. It is not only where you are injured, but it is where you get stuck, and you then reside there for longer than is necessary. Certainly a wound happens. You cannot ignore it. Well, you may try, but it does not serve you to ignore it. And so the wound is a place where most of you get stuck. And yet, authentically being there in the wound allows you to not get stuck. When you are inauthentic, when you do not embrace the wound, or when you try to blame others for the wound, or spin the wound in a different direction and have a story about the wound, a big saga about the wound, and now it makes the wound something bigger and something that you can identify with and get into more. So you get more into the wound by the identification and by the feeling of the wound and the story and the messages you tell yourself and the meaning that you make of that wound. And yet authenticity is in the moment. It is in presence. It is being here now in the wound. Seeing, wound. Okay. There's a wound here. And feeling the pain of the wound without getting consumed by it, getting lost in it, having it consume you. It is that place of tenderness. It is a tender, precious place where you can stand together with the wound, united with the wound, but not in a solidarity, but present with the wound and looking at the wound and seeing the beauty in the wound, seeing the gift, as has been mentioned, in the wound, seeing the opportunity that is offered in the wound. Because in the wound, that is the opportunity. There is an opportunity. There's a gift. The wound comes and is an opportunity to shift. It shakes you up. It takes you out of your complacency and autopilot living. It comes and you cannot but not pay attention to it. Even if you try to later stuff it, it catches your attention. And many times we are trying to get your attention and you are not always hearing us. And your soul is trying to get your attention. You live in your mind and in the stories of the mind and in the stories the mind makes of the wound. And yet the wound itself is trying to get your attention. Not to remind you to be wounded or to remind you that you are wounded, but to embrace the wound as the path out of the wound requires you to first stand in the wound. You cannot go out of something if you have not been in it yet. And so to stand in the wound and see yourself there and then allow the path to open up before you. Allow yourself to be guided out of the wound and use that mantra. I'm powerful enough. You are all so powerful. Power is within you. You have the divine seed within you. I am powerful enough. Yes, you are. To choose from love or to choose love, however you'd like to say it. And so if I choose from love, you tell yourself, if I choose from love, what do I choose? I'm powerful enough in this moment to choose from love. That is the thinking that we encourage you to replace the wounded thinking, that wounded thinking of poor me, or it hurts, or the victim consciousness of I can't believe this is happening to me. Why did they do this to me? Why did I do this to me? To step out of that into that tender place of recognizing you're in the wound, authentically embracing that, and then looking how to step out of the wound. But when you take that authenticity, when you are authentic and you embrace the woundedness, then the path opens before you. You don't need to get in your mind to figure out, okay, how do I get out of this wound? The wound is triggered. What are my choices here? The choices will show up when you are authentic, when you're not deflecting the wound by a story or deferring the wound by avoiding it. When you are sitting, standing, being present with the wound and acknowledging it and not making it bad and dirty and wrong, simply a wound. Wounds are part of the human condition. Everybody gets wounded. And we mean everybody, every person, but also everybody, everyone's body gets wounded. It is part of being human. To be wounded is part of your current human condition. Acknowledge that authentically. Do not be ashamed. Do not be afraid. Do not dismiss it. Do not rewrite it. I am wounded in this moment. And with that falls away so much story, so much blame, so much shame. And with that falling away, you are now empowered to step out of that wound as you might step out of the shower in the morning without a whole lot of thought, without a whole lot of effort. It is something you simply walk out of the wound. And then when you're authentically in that appreciation of what the wound has brought you, of that gift, you can even thank the wound. And in that place is freedom, great freedom. Namaste.
Oh, Noemi.
Yes, Lisa.
I got the
you're
word.
whispering.
I just wrote it down. I wrote freedom. And you literally, that's what the final word that you, oh my gosh, I even drew a little picture of being in the shower, wounded, but being authentic and present. And as you stepped out, you walked out in your power and freedom. And I drew it, I wrote it down. I'm so excited. I know we have to go to commercials, but oh my gosh, you guys have to come back. We're going to walk through this, and anybody out there listening really interested and curious and wanting to do some mantras, we're going to have a little mantra chat when we come back to Access to Angels and Grace with Noemi Grace and Lisa Berry. I got so excited.
Me too.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Consistently attract soulmate clients. Begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation, and let's magnetize and monetize.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Yeah, I just love commercials.
Well, I love that cat commercial, and I know you absolutely have to adore that commercial because I know you, Lisa.
Yes, and I'm smiling away from my hair, and I think, oh, there's that cat. And so true, because my cats really do watch me when I'm going tap, tap, and I know what they're thinking. Put that thing down and play with me. Noemi, one of the first things I have to share with that beautiful message that you shared is, ready for this? It wasn't just the word authentic, it was inauthentic that jumped out to me. And I connected with it when you are stuck It's because you're being inauthentic. And that is what causes stuckness. You get stuck when you're being authentic.
That's powerful.
You shared that.
It came. I channeled that. Oh,
yes.
See, I don't remember everything. I remember the gist.
I might not rephrase, but kind of interpret this way. But and then what was shared was about when we are inauthentic and stuck. What happens is we might blame others. We spin the story, which I actually laughed and wrote the saga of the story of the wound. But what was really powerful was that choices show up when you are authentic. So when we're inauthentic, we're stuck, and that's when no choice. Yeah, I've got no choices. That's right, because you're stuck because you're being inauthentic. So come on over to being authentic. Choices will show up, and as you are present in there with no judgment, the choices show up. You step out of that shower, boom, full of power, and guess what? Into freedom. So I have a little diagram here. I got a path.
Step out of the shower into power, freedom. Oh gosh, yeah, I had never heard them use that metaphor. But step out of the shower is not something to even think about. It's easy. There's no, how am I going to step out of the shower? Where am I going to put my foot?
Right.
I mean, maybe cleansed. You might have to make sure the cat's not there, but other than that,
yeah, you don't slip. But that cleansing, and a lot of people I know, even myself, when I'm feeling really, like I need to ground myself or come back to center, I definitely have a bath. I definitely do the water thing. And that's a beautiful way. And I think it's because everybody knows to leave you alone. You're in there, you're doing your thing. Just let me have my moments. and the fun thing was, so mantras. I am so excited that this came up. Do you know that I forgot? I just forgot. I hadn't put it in my schedule lately, just being busy, just like everybody else. I haven't done my mantras for a while, so I love Om Mani Padme Hum. It's one of my favorite little fun ones to sing. And so I absolutely, I better make sure she doesn't do it, right? I asked Google, please, Google, put on my, I believe it's called Gaia's Triat. I can't remember the actual name, but Om Mani Padme Hum. And you know what? My entire energy, my whole being just repeating, like a mantra, repeating, and this beautiful music that meant a lot to me, and I was singing. And so I wanted to share with you, you spoke earlier about the mantra, and now we said it again, and it is, I am powerful enough to choose love. I am powerful enough with compassion to choose love. Can you, to choose now, love now. That's what it is.
The now piece.
The now.
Yeah.
Let's get that clarified, actually, so people can write that down. Can you repeat the mantra and then just share?
I'm going to look.
You do mantras. Because
I am powerful enough to choose love now. I'm sorry,
now.
what?
Well, I was going to share just a fun little get to know Noemi here. Noemi and her husband David, you do your chanting or your meditation or your mantras daily. Like, this is something that's very important to both of you. And do you do mantras? Do you create your own? Do you look them up? Like, how can somebody start with mantras, and how do they help, and why the heck do they help?
Oh, well, I actually like mantras with music. I love Sanatam Kaur, as you know, because I've sent you things of hers, like the Heart of the Universe. And she has a whole bunch of different mantras, and there's a whole bunch of other artists that chant mantras with music. And for me, the music just takes me deep. And sometimes I used to do the Gayatri mantra over and over again. And
Gayatri, yes.
The Gayatri mantra, yeah. Om Boo. I can't even think of it. I have to chant it. Yes. And I have to chant it, sing it, which I don't really want to do on air. But yes, if I sing it,
come on, it's a top hit here.
Today, not. Today I'm a little sniffly with the allergies.
Yes.
But so it's so powerful. And when I first got introduced to Sanskrit mantras, I thought, well, why are you going to chant this thing? It's not even English. It's not a language that you know. Do you know what you're saying? Are you really sure? And I just started to listen to it, and I used to listen to Deva Premal a lot, and I went to a couple of her concerts, and they were really fabulous. And then I was just fell in love with it. It fell in love with singing the mantra and chanting it, and So out loud, silently, however it goes, but I love the mantra set to music. To me, it fills my heart with joy. And, the Sanskrit is a language that was created solely for the purpose of communicating with the divine. So those mantras are all about divine connection. And so they were sort of in the message using affirmation and mantra kind of simultaneously. They're not, technically I guess they're not the same, but to the divine, I guess they must be. But an affirmation being a statement that you are going to repeat like a mantra. And both have the same kind of, I can see why they're the same to the divine, because they both have the same purpose. You are reprogramming yourself with that statement. And when you remember, I'm powerful enough to choose love now, it's and it's really helpful. And that statement did come to me a couple days ago when I was not happy about something, and my wounded ego wanted me to do something, and I knew that something was going to probably put me over the edge, and I was like, but in the past I would have not been able to resist it, and then I all of a sudden I realized, that's the wounded ego. I'm powerful enough to choose love now. I don't have to choose that. I don't have to do what I used to do would have done every other time, or most other times. I can choose something different now, and I let it go. I totally realized, I don't need to read that. I don't need to shove that into my mind and then churn on it. I'm okay without it.
I love that you were, and that's the thing is that if we, it's a program. I love that you said that. It's a program. And oftentimes, and just speaking this, I love that we do a little practical side here too, as we've been doing throughout the series, is that people right now, everybody has a wound. There's a wound going on because that's how we grow. That's how we're going to get wounded, and that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. And I've had so many wounds show up in the past, I won't say 6 weeks, but 2 weeks the most. And I thought, are you serious? Like, this is a lot of wounds going on here. And I was like, well, hold on here. Okay. And that's where my, when it evokes love, because a lot of times I'll say, why would they have said that to me? And then I take me out of the question, because I was like, hey, wait a second. That's ego. They're just saying that. They would have said that to anybody. So I'm trying to remove the ego and be present, and then go, okay, now why was I triggered? Why did that have friction on my wound? Right?
Exactly.
And then I think, well, okay, maybe I think I would have chosen, a way, but doesn't mean that they were ready yet to choose that way out of love for them. Maybe that was a better place for them to react from than they would have. Maybe that was their better thing, but it's no place for me to judge. And you've always got to bring it back to yourself, I think. I think that's
absolutely.
That's my key.
The fact that somebody, they talk about pushing people's buttons. The fact that, I was sitting with a couple one day, and one of them is telling me, they always push my button. And I said, okay, but do you understand it's my button? You have a button. If you had no buttons, they couldn't push it. So yes, that person who's pushing and knows they're pushing, okay, you can change that behavior. But the fact that we've got buttons, it's like we want to blame somebody else for pushing our buttons, but we've got the buttons. Someone else is hurting my wound. I've got the wound. And, to be wanting to heal it, to want to be living not from the wound. This conversation is so rich. I mean, it's I see that we're at 12:52. I was like, if we're going to channel a second message, it's going to have to be pretty fast.
Well, we can do it. Let's do it. Let's try. Yes. I don't want to ask. I was like, hey, Divine, how do we become buttonless? But I don't know if that's the fair question. Can we? Because we don't want to become buttonless. We want to not. we don't want to give the power away. Yes, we are human. Maybe we could quickly ask the divine and source to say, how do we? Because I don't want to go into protection mode, but not let somebody else push our buttons. But how do we make our? Yeah, how do we not have so much friction on our buttons?
Okay. All right, Divine, you heard the question. Let's dive in. And you take care of the time so that we don't run over from the next show. Yes. How can we not have so much friction on our buttons? Okay. When you acknowledge that you have buttons, that already removes much of the friction, because in that ownership of the button, you take some power back. The button takes your power away. You've given the button your power, and you become powerless over the pushing of that button. Push, 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 push. If someone pushes you and they push you and you say, don't push me too far, and you have given the power. You have lost your power, and it has been encapsulated in this button, which now holds power. But it is not the kind of power that you want. You want to take your power back by simply acknowledging, I have a button there, and observing it, being aware of it. A lot of times you don't observe your buttons. You're not aware of them. You are putting them out of your conscious mind until they get pushed. And the pushing is also, if you can see it as a gift, that will help you. Because the pusher is pushing your button. And that there is a gift in that. The gift that is available to you is to heal that. To let the button not be raised so high. Shave a little off that button. Heal some of that button. Heal the wound. The person who is in service to your healing pushes the button, scratches your wound. They are in service to your healing. And so recognizing that too. The button is pushed. Do not treat it as if it's the end of the world. Do not treat it as if you have been violated, unless it is a violation. Do not treat it in such a manner of, how dare you, but recognize, that button is still there. It's pushed. Okay. I have that wound. And coming from that place of I am powerful enough to choose differently, to choose from love, to choose what brings my power back to me, to choose the true authentic power, not the power over where I'm going to beat you up kind of power, but the power that is authentically you. And so having that compassion for yourself as the owner of the button, and having compassion for the person who pushes your button, they are in service to your healing. If you can see that, if you can embrace that, if you can be okay with that, friction is being removed. These are like putting on special tires on your car that eliminate the friction and the drag so that you can go faster, easier. And so recognizing, the wound, the button, it's here. Yes, I have that. Do not judge yourself. Do not judge the other. Simply be aware. And then in that awareness, you may be aware of an intense emotion that's been evoked. And can it evoke love? Can you in that moment experience the love response? We have the typically elevated emotional response. In that moment, can you evoke the love response? Can you step back and say, it is simply a wound. It is simply a trigger. This is an opportunity for me to heal, rather than a moment where you are being taken advantage of or being manipulated or treated poorly. It is a moment that is here for your healing. And that, if you can hold the wound and the button in that regard, it will help you immensely. We are complete in this short transmission. Namaste. Wow.
I love this. It's okay to not be okay, because when people push your buttons, they are in service to your healing.
I like that. That is a great thing to remember.
It was absolutely. Oh, well, Noemi, I know our time is here, but I love this Living Beyond the Wound series. I invite everybody to come back in 2 weeks' time, and we will. And if you have any questions about how to get beyond your wound, how to live beyond your wound with love, with all these beautiful words in an authentic way, contact Noemi Grace or Lisa Berry. That's me, and we shall address it on the show. And Noemi will channel the divine and ask what beautiful message can help us and assist us along the way. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Noemi.
Oh, thank you, Lisa, for being on this journey with me. And thank you, everyone, for listening and receiving. Blessings.
Thank you. Yes, everyone, blessings. And along that path. I love the pathway. I'm gonna go picture that, get into the shower. Yes, exactly. Yep. Oh, and our mantra, and everybody, I want to say, I am powerful enough to create love now. I am
to choose love now.
To choose love now. Gosh, okay, well, let's do create too. Okay. Actually, let's post that. I'm going to go to Facebook and post that right now. Thank you, everyone. Until next 2 weeks from now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Blessings.